Welcome back to another episode of Addiction Got a Minute. I'm Howie Marlin, and it is Friday, February 15th, almost President's Day. Let's not say anything more except hello, Michael
Hello.
Blanchard.
I'm still confounded that we were born on the same day, September 21st. I'm not going to be able to speak in this show because I need to figure out what reason there is for that.
The universes are going to collide, and it's going to be all of. We just found out that with our birthdays the same day. At least I've got a couple of years on you.
You got 3 on me. So
I
I'm
got a
happy
couple of
with
years.
that, so.
Well, thank you all very much for coming for coming back. For those of you that have gone to our new Facebook page, awesome, and there's been a lot of people. That was amazing. Literally launched it, and we have over 100 members or something like that.
Oh, cool. I'll go ahead and try to increase that number. I did see, and it looks really nice.
Well, you didn't tell anybody?
You set it up, and it looks good. No, I haven't yet, so I'll blast it out today. We'll see if we can increase that number.
I did Twitter, I did LinkedIn, I did, I don't know, all these other things. I need to turn to my daughter for help with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you all very much for your comments and your support, particularly to several folks who reached out and just wanted to say, to show their appreciation, and you know that I appreciate that. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things which are really pertinent to what's going on in our country right now, and probably the most important thing I want to talk about is this crisis that's going on. And there are efforts to raise a lot of money to address a crisis that's going on in our country. And I wish the money was being raised to address the opiate crisis. There's some statistics I want to review with you guys, and then we'll get into the discussion. In 2016, this is the most recent stuff, healthcare providers wrote more than 214 million prescriptions for opiate pain medications. That's 66.5 prescriptions per 100 people. If that doesn't get your attention, as many as 1 in 5 people receive prescription opiates long-term for non-cancer pain in primary care settings that we'll talk about. This product was brought to the market to address the most severe of pains, yet it's being dished out for things which are uncomfortable but not critical, like cancer pains. More than 11 million people abused opiates in 2016. These are the statistics by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, by the way. Every day, more than 1,000 people are treated in the emergency departments for abusing prescription opiates. Every day, 1,000. I mean, is that getting your blood going? More than 40% of all opiate overdoses in 2016 involved prescription opiates. Drug overdoses claimed the lives of nearly 64,000 Americans in 2016 alone. Nearly 2/3 of those deaths, 66%, involved prescription opiates. The CDC estimates the total economic burden of prescription opiate misuse in the country is $78.5 billion each year, including the cost of health care, lost productivity, addiction treatment, criminal justice involvement. Now, put those numbers match it to what we're talking about, what you hear about in the news. And I got to tell you, my blood gets boiling. I start really wondering who doesn't get it here. I mean, we're doing this to ourselves as a culture. Can't we undo it a little bit?
Okay, so can I jump in on that one?
You better.
All right. What happens with a pendulum? It goes...
It swings?
Whew. So we have opioids uses out here, and now it's come back. And the statistics that you cite there, and the reason I have some exposure to this is that I worked at Island Healthcare, and my job was to put in protocols around pain management. So I had to research best practice at different institutions of primary care around the country, and I found some. The pendulum now, because the primary care are not oblivious to this, and my significant other, Anne-Marie, actually is a nurse practitioner at Martha's Vineyard Hospital, and
working for
primary care, and she came home last night and was drained, because there's 2 sides to the problem. They have an awareness at the hospital I guess I can make it personal here. I'm not a hospital representative. Any comments that I may make are not authorized by Martha's Vineyard Hospital.
Thanks for that
All
disclaimer.
right, yeah, so I'm just talking off the top of my head. But
The comments and opinions made by those of us on
yes,
the show
it's just-
do not
this is just-
represent any institution.
and I no longer work for Island Healthcare, but I did a lot of research, and I understand that the whole emphasis right now is swinging back the other way is how do we stop this train that's gotten out of control. So I don't want people to, and I can't say this is the same from all over the country, because there are physicians that make a lot of money on prescribing opioids. They get an office visit if you come in and get your prescription refilled. There's abuse in every kind of industry and every kind of place in the country, or any type of business. But I can only tell you that in my research in primary care, and if you look at what they're trying to do at the hospital right now, is that as the pendulum swings back, there's also, you have to have participation on the behalf of the patient. So you have been on oxycodone for 6 months or a year or whatever.
I have.
Well, you have, but say you have.
I have.
You have, all right. So
I
let's.
had my shoulder surgery.
All right, so let's say you come in and now the hospital is, and your physician has changed his or her attitude towards the prescribing because we want to try to reduce these crazy numbers. You say, I need my pills, and the clinician says, let's look at other options. Have we looked at acupuncture? Have we looked at chiropractic medicine? Have we looked at meditation, yoga, ways to do self-guided pain management? And you sit there and say, I want my oxycodone. and what's happening to the poor clinicians, and what happened to her yesterday, is that she hit 5 or 6 patients that had been prescribed in the past, and they manipulate and wear down the clinicians to try to get around, and I'm judging, please, I can just see people saying, no, we're not all like that. I know that, I'm just trying to make an example.
Michael's email is...
Yeah, no, but I'm trying, because I did the same thing, all right? So when I needed my oxycodone, you get out of my way, right? When I had my 4 surgeries. So I'm not throwing stones. All I'm saying is that as the pendulum swings, the people out there that see clinicians that generated these numbers have to be willing to play. Because if you're not willing to play, then it's going to create huge antagonism in the office as the pendulum goes back the other way. And the clinicians who are trying to right the ship and change the way that these things happen are getting worn down, because it gets nasty sometimes in an office when somebody, you know, is hooked on the medications and demands that you're taking away something that's controlling my pain. And studies have shown, whether we believe it or not, and these numbers are always got some wiggle room, that if you have a pain, opioids take away about 30% of that pain. You still feel pain. I know that when I took oxycodone or hydrocodone, I still could feel the pain. It just wasn't as bad. Is it worth that for the consequences that you just cited? And so, I'm only trying to make the point that I don't want people to think that clinicians are insensitive and to know that things went awry with the prescribing of opioids. There are concerted efforts and there are best practices by many primary care practices around the country to try to go through a hierarchy that tries to get you to take NSAIDs and other non-addicting pain medications and use other forms of therapy, non-traditional in many cases, to try to avoid handing out that prescription. If the patients if it gets to be a battleground in the office, it's just, I don't know, I'm trying to make the point to addicts. If they've become addicted, it's like I can't reason with the addicted person by just saying, hey, come on, give your clinician a break because you're addicted and now you're going to have to work on that addiction. But for patients who are coming in fresh that maybe aren't addicted yet, understand the clinicians are going to try to get you in a direction that gets you away from the pain medications. And you have to help because it's a system. You work together.
I hope that I can talk about the numerous points that you brought up. Each one of those points are worth a half-hour discussion by themselves.
Yeah.
First things first, it has been a practice to overprescribe. I ripped out my bicep when they were going through everything. They found out I needed the rotator cuff as well. So I walked out of that with a prescription of 60. Did I need a prescription of 60? Well, I had some pretty severe surgery, but no, I didn't, because what has been proven is that during the first week or so of that discomfort, you better believe it's worth it. However, through physical therapy, the pain is showing that you're healing.
Yeah.
And in spite of the fact it is uncomfortable, every athlete will tell you, you come out the better side if you're actively working through it. And I did a lot of things because I'm a drummer, and the timing of the surgery was really bad. And I had to continue playing, so I did something with my drum set so that I was able to continue in my sling playing. And I got blood flow into there, which really helped. And now my range is phenomenal. But the point being, doctors have an interesting challenge. Number one, there are satisfaction surveys. And if I'm a grumpy umpus and you're not giving me my meds,
You are a grumpy umpus.
I'm going to say nasty things about you. Plus the fact that, you know, PCPs, that it's very hard work. They don't get paid what people think they get paid. The point is they're working very hard, and they take abuse, emotional abuse, from clients who are dysregulated. The system that we have, we do understand there are changes. And recognizing there are ways for people to play nicely with others and to work forward. There's the system in Michigan, is it?
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, there's a practice in Minnesota. It's about a 25-page document. And I searched the entire internet to try to find someone who had best practice in primary care. I found stuff that
I'm sure you did.
That suggests or prescribes a sequence of events that's not only suggested, it's mandated. So that if you're going to be, it's a quality measure that you're going to, as a clinician, you have to document in the patient's medical record that you have gone through these steps and asked these questions. Even more than that, if I go in for my pain medication and I'm sitting in front of you, the physician, and you say, have you tried, I think you should try acupuncture, and I think you should go to meditation and yoga, and are you working out, by the way? Are you in all that stuff? And then I come back and I said, yeah, I tried all that stuff, and it's just, man, I'm in pain. And then they say, oh, you know, okay, well, you tried it, I'll give you the pain meds. The clinicians are going to take it one step further. They hold the pain medication. How hard will they hold that medication? Will they say, show me a written note from your meditation retreat? Will they say, let me see when you went to get the acupuncture? Because it's so easy for patients to say, I went through all that, and then give me the pain meds. So again, the question is as a patient, you could easily say to that clinician, give me a break. You're like putting me through this. I don't need you anymore. I'm going over to Dr. B over here. You're Dr. A, and they'll give me what I want faster. So it's not simple. It's like everybody has to play at the same time, or you'll end up just shopping somewhere else.
Let's cut that into pieces. Let's start with the end. People need to learn. You need to start getting familiar with the processes that are available. I'm not saying that everyone needs to become an expert. I'm just saying open your ears to the opportunities to be able to take advantage of other resources.
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge whether a physician will or won't follow through on this, but there are many different forms to help self-regulate, to help self-calm, to help distract you from the discomfort. And listen, we're getting older, we're getting overweight, we're getting less physical. You know, when we get injured, what happens? We start being more sedate. Right.
Let me ask you one question related to that. Should you be in pain, ever be in pain?
Absolutely.
Right, because if you have an athlete in the Super Bowl who suddenly hurts something, they could numb that completely with medication. What would be the danger? Well, you'd rupture it, or if you don't feel some pain, you don't know,
they're going
right?
to re-injure it and do it more severely. Pain is God's way of letting you know that something's going on.
You're supposed to have some pain. I mean, I think we represent in hospitals that when you go home, I need pain medications because I shouldn't be in any pain. And so that's the,
Let's rephrase this to discomfort. There's pain and then there's discomfort. And add to the fact, let me throw this in, another piece to the model. One of the things that opiates do to your system, as you take them over time, your sensitivity to pain rises and the efficacy of them descends. So at the time that you start taking them, they can be effective and they can really work on the pain that you feel. But the first time is the only first time. After that, it's never the first time again. So what if you do get into another injury and you need to take them later? Well, your levels are going to be very different the way you receive
It's
it.
like alcohol, it's tolerance. Your body develops that. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So there are other things involved, folks. So keep in mind that just because you stop them doesn't mean when you take it the first one again a couple of years later, it's going to have the same effect. It probably won't. I say probably because we're all different. But this adds to the layer of the complexity.
And adding even one more layer is you get, when you go in for procedure or anything, you go into the emergency department and they say, what level is your pain? And now you get, and I know because I have had
Smiling
4 surgeries,
faces.
you get the smiley faces. So you have, at the low end, you have like a really happy face, and at the sad end, you have a
My
really
face.
sad, crinkly face that's crying. And you have to pick, are you a 1 or a 10? And even within me, the first time I went in, I said, I'm in like 9 pain. Well, later that night when my bowel perforated, I realized what 9 pain really was. And it was really a 2 or a 3 compared to that. So it's all, even within an individual, the pain scale changes based on your exposure to pain. If you've only like stubbed your toe your whole life, you know, when you get like a pain inside, it's going to be like, that's a 10, because that's my experiences. I've never had pain like that before, so it's a 10, whereas somebody else might call it a 2. And so if you're a clinician, you have a hard time trying to figure out where a patient is. It's not an exact science. There's no pain meter. There's no way to do any of that.
Yes, there is.
There's a pain meter, okay.
The pain meter is respiration, breaths, perspiration, heart rate, all the vitals. If you are in pain, your vitals are going to reflect that.
Yeah,
You'll be sweaty, short of breath, your blood pressure will be up, those things.
But if you have to be panting and sweating to get pain medication, that's going to cut down. And it will cut down on the amount of prescribed.
My experience, and please, any ER staff, please do chime in.
Well, you've worked in the ER, so you know firsthand.
Here's the thing, I'm not a medical person. I'm on a periphery. I'm just looking and watching, because my role in the ER had nothing to do with medicine. It was all mental health and substance related. So when people would come in drug seeking, they would be addressed politely to see if there's something really going on, because often something is really going on. But one of the things that they do when they take the vitals is to determine the true level. Now, everybody's ability to respond to pain, some people are very good at it. Some people, their threshold is very high, so that's taken into consideration as well. So there's a number of things, don't get me wrong, it's not just one, but there is a measure that's used. And that's why a lot of people are left in the ER for, you know, we serve people based on the level of severity of the emergent condition. So somebody with a splinter is going to be apt to be put aside for a while, even if it's a very painful splinter, while the baby and the heart and the helicopter are being dealt with. So keep that in mind. There's many things involved.
I understand, and I guess as we try to wrap our heads around the statistics and stuff like that, what is it that we are willing to do as a society? Let's just take Martha's Vineyard. We could build a border wall.
Don't do that.
I want to build a border wall around Martha's Vineyard.
Don't take Martha's Vineyard. Have you guys been to Martha's Vineyard?
If we could build a border wall, we could keep all drugs out, and we could keep
just close the tunnel. Close the
tunnel.
But
that's one solution, but not practical. But it's a society. But it's you need to like take some pilot, a community that says let's participate together to see where we can take this, because the clinicians can't reverse it. Well, they could. They could just say, I'm not going to give any, we're going to cancel all opioids. It's gone. We've now banned them. They're illegal. No drug manufacturers can ever make another one again. Of course, there's going to be internet sales and Canadian pharmacies and all the stuff I used to hit on when I wanted some.
Don't pick on the Canadians.
No, but I'm French Canadian.
Who are from Canada.
But you get the email, Canadian pharmacy. It's
Patty,
not, there's
we'll be
no,
with you in a minute.
no
Patty
judgment.
will have a lot to say about this.
What I'm saying is that you have to have a societal coming together to make it happen, unless you're just going to ban it. Unfortunately, there are many lawsuits on undertreatment of pain. And so if I come in and I'm in severe pain and I have a clinician that is so guarded that they don't recognize the fact that I am debilitated through pain, but they have such a high threshold for doing anything about it, then there's been lawsuits that have been successful for the undertreatment of pain of patients. And so it's not just a clinician issue on terms of changing their practice. The patients have to be in on it and have to participate in it. And unless you're going to just go into like opioid prohibition or something, which, you know, obviously is an option.
This is a great conversation to have. I would love to have a physician on. And
Yeah.
there's a couple I have in mind who may want to sit in on this conversation. What if, when you went to a physician for pain, opiate related, that physician was able to say, here is my prescription. And my prescription is, I want you to, and you need to provide to me the results of a 6-week engagement with.
Yeah, that you've made an
acupuncture,
effort to do an alternative pain regulation.
mindfulness or hypnotherapy.
Yep, they could do that. They could insist on that.
Physical therapy.
Yep.
Meditation, yoga, have them all prescribed. Because if you're in that much pain, what would you do to alleviate the pain? If you're in that much pain, what price would you be willing to pay to fix it, to help it, to encourage relief? So if I came to you from the encourager of relief, giving you power, empowering you to take action, if you do not take action, what does that tell me? That you're, what, lazy? I don't think so.
Well,
You're not convinced? Maybe. You're not motivated? Maybe. I don't know.
Those are hard things to do. So when I go home at night, I can get on the elliptical trainer, I can grab my camera and I can go outside and take pictures. I can go to an AA meeting. I can do a lot of things that require activity and time in order to get the angst out of my system and stay sober. Or if I want to get angst out, I can just grab some vodka and drink it. What would you do? So you're asking the same thing of people who could easily get a pill, but you're going to ask them to go to 6 weeks of yoga, and they have to have a compelling reason, because if you're going to give it, if you're going to make the pill available, you know, then they've got to have a compelling reason they would go through all of that. I go through all the things I go through because I know I will die if I drink again. But if I didn't have that knowing, it's so much easier drinking or taking a pill than it is to go through all that effort. I mean, an hour on the elliptical so I can get some endorphins so I feel good about myself in the evening, and then I can go sleep, versus just slugging down a shot of vodka. And so the same thing happens with the pills. People have to buy in that they will go through that effort because it's worth it. There's a point, and if everybody in this world is honest with themselves, there is a point where you take a pill like hydrocodone or Percocet, and you take it and you say, it's the pain relief, I feel so much less pain, thank you. But there's a point where you say, euphoria, I love the euphoria. That line between pain-focused and euphoria-focused is the place where I go over. And when euphoria becomes your motivation versus, that's the problem with the pain medications. If it could just kill the pain, what the hell, right? What can I say, hell? What the hell? But it's the euphoria that comes with it.
You can curse your ass off.
Yeah, I know, you can just cut it out. But it's the euphoria. So for me, when I could see it, I had mindful enough on my surgeries that when it went over, I didn't care about the pain anymore. I wanted the euphoria. You can torture me. I want euphoria. When you hit that, and that's keeping your mind off the pain because you're just seeking the euphoria. You don't even remember you are in pain, even if you are. That's the magic place where addiction happens, and then you're in trouble. And so I'm not sure we're going to solve anything. This is like world hunger. But if we can impart on people that the patient has a place in this, and that if we could somehow get focus groups, like if in Martha's Vineyard the hospital could do focus group with patients, we can get all the patients who are being prescribed pain medications. There's a listing of all patients on Martha's Vineyard that are being prescribed pain medications. There's a state database, a pharmaceutical database that has all opioid prescriptions that are prescribed in the state of Massachusetts. You could actually do a printout of every patient on Martha's Vineyard who is taking opioids or prescribed opioids right now. What if you printed that list and got all those patients to come and do focus groups and say, how do we work together as a community on Martha's Vineyard to reduce the opioids? Can we work together somehow? I think we need a community experiment somewhere.
And after the villages are burning?
No,
from protests?
But see, if we get money, let's say that we get money from the pharma companies to try to reduce to help us with the addiction. If you want to nip it in the bud, you got to get it where the prescriptions are happening. You have to get it at that level. So if you don't have education between patients and clinicians who are prescribing, that has to at least be one focus area. Yes, treatment, have more treatment centers, have more, but a component of it has to be right at the point of the exchange. You know?
Okay, now
So that's what I want, and I'm going to lead that effort here on Martha's Vineyard.
I'm going to scrutinize that last 10 minutes. You literally touched on critical, valuable point after point after point. And at one point, I wanted to stop you and say, let that soak in.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, they're these connected issues.
Yeah,
and it was very appropriate that you did that, and I'm grateful that you did, because I will go back and listen to this again, and we will tuss out each of these individual things.
Yeah.
But the one thing I want to leave, because we're going to have to wrap up very soon.
Yeah.
You have to have skin in the game. The term skin in the game is a reference to a sales process where if you have an investment in the outcome, you're going to work towards that outcome. If you don't have an investment in it, it doesn't cost you anything, whatever. You're not going to care. If I go to you for a medication and I can just get it willy-nilly, wicked free, and I don't have to do anything for it, am I going to want to get it? Hell yeah. If I got to do 10 push-ups, if I got to walk up and down a few flights of steps, if I have to walk around the block in order to get them, am I going to be so motivated? Well, it's going to be an effort. And I might think about that after a few times. But I know that analogy is a little weird, but the point is, if you had a price to pay in order to get this, to qualify, the pain scale, or the other things that we're talking about, the skin in the game, I need for you to get acupuncture, go to yoga, pain-focused yoga, hypnosis. These are the things you must do in order to continue getting your pain regime. And every week, I get a report, or every 2 weeks or something. The physician would get the report and then measure the performance of the person's skin in the game, how much involvement they have in their own health. You have to take responsibility for your healing. Yes, I do understand, please don't get me wrong. Health and well-being, so much is out of our hands. Cancer and traumatic events are not something that we can fix ourselves. But what we can do is help ourselves through the process.
And will insurance companies and the whole system support that, so that if a doctor writes a prescription for meditation, who will pay for that? Will an insurance company, so you have to have, like an ACO, accountable care organization, involves hospitals, physicians, insurance companies, and providers of services within that context. You'd almost have to pull them together. Like, I know, I'm not doing a commercial for Partners Healthcare, so they have their own insurance product now. And they have their hospitals, Mass General, Brigham and Women's, Martha's Vineyard Hospital. So they insure, and then they do testing, and then they have the physicians, and you're in this little bound thing. It's kind of a cool way to say, okay, let's get creative and let's cover meditation classes and hopefully reduce the amount of prescriptions. So it all has to be a system issue. So, we can't just throw stones at one piece of it, and it's gotta come together.
Are you inviting partners into this discussion? This is interesting. Michael, first of all, thank you very much for this. Your insight, there's a couple of reasons why I enjoy the process. Your activism, which it's from the heart, that you're doing this because it's in your heartfelt, but also the fact that you've got this experience. You've been in the healthcare field. You were in the healthcare as an executive.
I was a chief operating officer. I happen to be drunk most of the time, but I was a chief operating officer, and I can do this. I think we have people here, the hospital, other things. I mean, I think it takes a catalyst.
Can you take a compliment?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
I love you.
Valentine's Day was yesterday. I didn't get anything from you.
I can't take a compliment. No, that's my whole hang up, but we'll just forget about that. But thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.
Parting shots, go
ahead. You're not here next week.
I'm not.
Should we do a show?
I don't know.
Could you guys stand me being here by myself? I heard like 7,000 people. I could hear the screams through the
We're listening to the laughter in the control booth.
All right, we'll see about coming back next week.
I think that would be wonderful. Right. I think that would
We need to have a guest. I'm thinking about having, I won't say it yet. We'll keep the mystery alive.
It's another
All right.
another way of saying, yeah.
I have no idea what to help, but I'm going to come
The
up with
night
something
before,
good.
hey, Louie.
Yeah.
How can people reach you, Michael?
Easiest at my email, M as in Michael, Blanch, BLANCH 601 at mac.com is the easiest way to reach me.
Awesome.
All right.
We'll have that at the end of the show as
All
well.
right, cool.
And people can reach me at howiemarlin.com. I think that's the easiest as well. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second half of Addiction Got a Minute. I'm Howie Marlin, and today we're joined with my co-host from the West Coast, Patty Pike. Good morning, Patty.
Good morning, Howie. How are you this morning?
I'm doing really well. You're out of Canada and in San Francisco. Where are you today?
In North Bay today.
And I know you've had quite a week. We were talking a little earlier about how your workload's been impressive. And speaking of impressive, you've brought a guest with us today. Would you like to introduce her?
Yes, I would like to introduce Cherie Ashley. And I met Cherie 7-8 years ago. And when I first met Cherie, we were actually at a West Coast conference down in Palm Springs. At that time, she was in the midst of opening up an adult detox. And, at that time, I was just like, wow, she's so young and vibrant and inspiring, and as I've kind of gotten to know her in the last 7-8 years, I've seen her do so many amazing things, and I'll let her tell you all about that. So formally, I'd like to introduce you, Howie, to Cherie.
Good morning, Cherie.
Good morning, Howie. How are you?
I'm fine. Rumor has it that something unusual happened last week, is it?
Yeah. I would say so, yes.
What is that? What happened?
We brought a wonderful baby girl into our family last week.
You're a new mother, number one?
Number 3.
Number 3?
Number 3.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Name of your daughter?
Her name is Fiona Rose.
Fiona Rose.
And she is a precious little girl, and she has 2 big brothers. One is almost 2 and a 5-year-old.
And what are their names?
We are busy. We have Deegan and Reese.
Deegan and Reese. Hey, guys. Just want to
So we are busy over here.
Oh, you are going to. I'm one of 4, and let me tell you, I remember being a hellion. Well, welcome aboard. Tell us, what do you do?
I am an addiction specialist, Howie, here in Hollister, California. I also am an interventionist specialist, and I have a medical detox facility for adults currently and working on our adolescent program.
A medical detox facility in Hollister?
Correct, yes.
So are you going to have the T-shirts that say Hollister Med?
Right.
Hey, why not? Sounds good to me.
Right?
Sounds good to me. And for those of you that have never been into Hollister, you drive through California and then you go back into the valley of the Green Giant somewhere, I don't know. And you go forever, and then you get into this huge valley and there's crops to the left and crops to the right. Am I right?
You're right.
It's like,
yes.
Whoa, baby. That and a guy that makes motorcycle seats, Mike Corbin.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, just wanted to give you a shout out. So anyway, that's wonderful. So you have a medical detox. Is it a level 4? Do you know what I mean by it's like a medical hospital?
So we are right under hospital. So we are a subacute detox program, not hospital level. We are Joint Commission accredited. So it's a very comfortable setting. We have it that way because we want it to be, whether it's somebody's first time or 10th time in treatment, we want them to walk through those doors and have a different experience and feel that home away from home feeling and be able to build that trust the minute they walk through the door. That is our outlook, and it's worked really well, and we've helped a lot of people and getting them through the detox phase where they feel comfortable and like an individual, and in that smaller setting really makes a big difference.
I can imagine. Patty, how did you guys meet?
Yeah, I met, as I mentioned, I met Cherie 7, 8 years ago, and I was at a West Coast conference, and Cherie was there at that time, and I just remember sitting across the table, and Dina Enberg introduced us, and she said, "Yeah, Cherie lives in California. You should hook up." And she's starting a detox, and I was like, "Wow!" I mean, I was just so impressed with her, being like, sort of a young person, working in this field and really inspired to, out there to help other people. It just really touched my heart, and it really still does today. And, I'm just really proud of the work that you've done, Cherie. And I see you helping so many people, and it's very impressive. I was also at her detox this week as well, Howie, and it was just amazing. She's got a great staff there, just a great setting, and just really out there just to help people, meeting people at that one-on-one level.
Well, that's very cool how you met her. So, Cherie, let me ask you, how did you get into the business?
So I am in recovery myself. So I went through, the steps of getting clean and sober and, rewiring my life into a healthier lifestyle. So I worked in the industry for a little bit and decided to go back to school to work in the medical field, in surgery. And while I was in school, I realized, I like this, and I know that I love to help people, and I will do this because I am helping people. But I tended to leave class a lot for interventions. That's just where my heart has been. And I would go and I would leave and say, you know what, I will be back tomorrow. I will have my homework done, but I have something I need to take care of. I have a family in need crisis mode right now. And so that was kind of my realization that this industry is really where I need to be. And so I did interventions for a couple of years before opening up the detox. The reason I decided just detox, a lot of people ask me, why don't you open up a residential? Why don't you do a longer term program? And working with other professionals such as Patty and everybody in this industry, I realize if you work together as a team and you know what your specialty is in this industry, you will help a lot more people. And, I don't want to say the word staying in your lane, but it's sort of, because, I'll be honest, I can't sit there and run a group. That's not what I've done since I've worked in this industry. It's really working on that front end, working with the family and the client, that very first step, and doing a thorough assessment and really seeing what is the treatment plan long-term that they need is where I specialize. And I love working with other facilities and professionals to get them on the right treatment plan that is going to be successful for them.
The point that you brought up, which is really interesting, is your awareness of what the long-term plan is and how to go about facilitating that. Listen, we all know that we can get somebody into detox pretty relatively easily, and they'll go through that. But once they return back into the tar pit of their triggers and connections, which are detrimental, the struggle is on. So good for you for that. Are you involved in any associations or groups?
Not. I kind of travel all over for different conferences and trainings, and on foot, on site to different facilities, really working with the clinical team as well as people who have founded the programs. To me is very important. Why did they start their program? What makes them different? What services are they providing that are going to benefit? In my eyes, there's no cookie cutter program. So being out there and knowing firsthand the professionals that would be working with a client, if you were to send them to that location, why is it you're sending them there? Maybe there's trauma, maybe there's co-occurring disorders. So to me, I feel knowing people one-on-one is extremely, extremely important, other than getting on a website and saying, oh, well, this looks like a nice place. Who is it that's going to be teaching them those tools and working with them directly is who I want to have trust in and a relationship with when I'm having a family trust in me to help them get into the right place.
I'm particularly grateful that you brought that up. One of the wonderful things that you're doing is in going to different facilities and answering the question, why should I send you there? In other words, different facilities have different assets. Now, we all know that it's not really good to send an 82-year-old woman to a place where you're going to send 22-year-old boys. So that seems to be the cut and dry thing. But what's interesting is being able to learn more about different facilities and about the ways that they operate is a true asset. And one of the things that I'm grateful to getting to know you on a very personal basis is that now I feel that I'll be comfortable being able to reach out to you and get a little feedback as to places that you either think one way or another about. And I'm sure, Patty, that's the larger scope of what we do, the resources that we have, calling on folks from different parts of the country who have different levels of understanding. And Cherie, truly remarkable that you do all of this, and you've done it so early in your life. I mean, so the real asset is understanding who our resources are and being able to call on these resources for those who are best skilled at the situation at that time for the client and the conditions. So that's basically it. Yes.
So one of the things that I think that it's really important to talk about is clients that are in that place of resistance or using different types of drugs. For instance, folks that are kind of methamphetamine clients. I'll just use that as an example. Putting a person that's been on methamphetamine, cannabis-induced psychosis, having these episodic kind of patterns of delusional and irrational thinking. And so taking that individual and putting them directly into a treatment program is not the best case scenario, as we know, as folks that have worked in the field of addiction for a long time. And I think that, what Cherie has got down in Hollister, her detox program is not, to me, it's more than just a detox program. It's kind of like a place that, folks can launch into a transition that's very home-like, but yet client-centered approach, where folks can kind of land there and get in that, in that preparation of moving into treatment. You've got a medical detox that we're all familiar with, or, they're just focused on medication management and sort of getting into that process of getting them in and out as quick as possible. What I really liked about, Bright Futures detox was that there was like there was a sense of a home-like sort of connection there that folks could just relax and not be kind of forced into leaving treatment or getting into treatment, quickly, that there could be a slower transition. And I really like that. And, it just kind of gave me that sense when I was at the detox, like how important the detox program that you are running is so essential for a lot of some of the clients that I deal with, prior to going into treatment.
Right.
Anyway, that was my little bit that I did get in. I know I'm taking over, Howie.
That's your.
I'm trying to control this podcast today. You know that, right?
Which is fine. That's why you're my. Yeah, that's not only is that fine, I do want you to take over, and I certainly enjoy when you do. I mean, this.
Thank you, Howard.
The reason why, by the way, Cherie, I met Patty at the AIS conference, the Association for Interventionist Specialists, and
Yes.
We bonded over the idea of sharing these best practices. And inviting somebody like you who has developed systems which are working is wonderful. Patty, you can take it away anytime you want. And
Thank you.
I'm just grateful. But the beautiful thing is sharing these best practices and the skill sets. Cherie, do you have a team? Is there a network of people that you work with?
Oh, huge network of people that I work with. Huge.
No surprise. Who, if you'd like to mention them and shout out to them, by all means, go right ahead. Who do you call a brother or sister at arms?
Oh, goodness. I have a lot of them. Ken Seeley is definitely one of my dear friends who's been in this industry a long time, who's always there especially when I first started working in this industry, it was important for me to be able to have additional resources. And what I love is people who have been in this industry a long time, who have no problem being there when I need a quick response. Hey, do you have a facility for, a 22-year-old gay male who has trauma? And if I don't have that resource, knowing that somebody who's been in this industry for a long time is going to say, yes, here's a couple of them. Patty has always been a great friend of mine and able to do the same. And I can text her, call her at any hour. And to me, that is extremely important because I know I will do the same thing for my friends and colleagues. If they call me at 2:00 in the morning and say, we need your assistance, I'm going to be there. I'll put my shoes on and be out the door if I need to. And so having colleagues who I now call friends and family, and I like that you say that because it's so true. And I was sharing with my family actually when I met with Patty. I said, I just had the baby, but I have to make time to go have coffee with her, even if it's just for 20 minutes, because we talk sometimes a few times a week for a couple of years, and it's like, gosh, when's the last time I actually physically saw them in person? And so it's
Right.
it's like you have these strong relationships and friendships, but you don't even see them. And that's to me is a beautiful thing that I can pick up the phone at any time, and I have such a huge group of friends that I can call to say, oh my gosh, this is how my day went. Like, I just need a vent, and they're there.
Well, I'd like for you to name them. Is there anybody else that you want to say, give credit to, give a nod to?
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with Duffy's up in Napa, but there is a Bonnie who works in their admissions department, and she's another one who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting in person, and I just love that woman.
I just met her. I just met her
good.
a couple of months ago, and I've known her for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
known her for a long time, and she works for another program. But sometimes we just text, even if it's 10:00 at night, and just talk about our day, and it's wonderful.
That
I
is
love it.
wonderful. I have relationships with admissions people from around the country, from different facilities, where I call and go, hey, Jazz, it's Howie. And you go, oh, and it's like it's old home week.
Yeah.
Because we've learned about each other and families and everything like that. So that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, honestly, it's great. It is. I love it. My friend Michael Gonzalez, he's an interventionist. He's been working in this industry for many years as well. And him also. I mean, we just check in on each other. How's everything going? How are you? That is my biggest question to all of my friends in this industry is, hey, how are you? How are you doing? I know you've had a crazy week. I know that you're stressed probably to the max at times, and you had some sort of difficult case. What's up? How are you doing? And sometimes just that connection and being able to talk and laugh or joke is important, even if it's just through a text message for 10 minutes. So I have a lot of people that I am able to communicate with. I'm a huge texter, as I'm sure anybody in this industry is. When you're constantly on the phone or emailing and texting, you tend to love to talk a little extra.
We are cut from an interesting cloth.
Yeah.
We certainly are. I mean, some of the most wildest characters I've ever met were interventionists. Excellent. So Sherry, how can people get in touch with you?
So they can reach us or myself on our website, which is brightfuturerecovery.com. They can also call us directly at 831-245-1623.
Excellent. That will be repeated at the end of the show for those of you who didn't grab a pen fast enough. And Patty, how can people reach you?
I want to also acknowledge Cherie just wrote a book as well in the last year. And I know we didn't get a chance to really kind of acknowledge that and talk about that, but I just wanted to congratulate you on another accomplishment. Again, like, this woman is just amazing. And I'm going to go buy the book, and hopefully you want to just quickly tell folks how they can buy your book, Cherie?
Yes, absolutely. So the book is called Balance, Life Lessons and Success, and it kind of talks on different areas of my life, as well as giving tools to be able to balance being a mom, wife, entrepreneur, business, everything kind of going on. And people can go directly to the website cherieashley.com to pre-order and purchase the book.
So Cherie, Yvonne, Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today. And Patty, as always, thank you so very much. And if you guys just stay on for a second as I say goodbye to folks, we'll talk for a moment more. There is so much more out there for us. There are resources to call on. There are folks who know more than we do. And I just hope that you join us in helping fill that bucket so we can leave a better world for our children. On behalf of Cherie and Patty Pike and Michael Blanchard, I'm Howie Marlin. Till next time. She forgot to hit record. We have to do the whole thing again. No.